got the greatest privilege, which is to introduce our secretary. And I just want to say, on behalf of the entire board and staff of Emerald City's collaborative of over 25 national organizations that come together to realize a vision of greening our cities, building our communities, and strengthening our democracy through equity and inclusion of lower-income communities of color. A grand vision, a fabulous vision, and it's tough work. It's not easy to do, but we do it because it's the right thing to do, but we also do it because of you. And the collaboration of public, private, community, and labor coming together, holding hands with government, with our President Obama and his administrators to deliver on a new and a better America, a better future. And there is no one better representing that vision than our Secretary, Hilda Solis. And, you know, I call her homegirl. She's from LA, you know, and I actually remember, and I have, you know, I raised my family there for 35 years, and I remember her coming to the Metropolitan Water District event a long time ago at LA Trade Tech College when we were launching our green initiative there. And she is, I'm saying this just, read her bio, but just on a personal level, someone who's unpretentious, who understands the big vision. I think you had just come back from the Arctic or someplace like that, and you said, where's the girl from East LA doing in the Arctic? And that was as real as it possibly gets. So she understands policy, she understands community, she understands government, and she's been a true leader. I appreciate you for that. So Secretary Solis was confirmed as the Secretary of Labor on February 24th, 2009. Prior to her confirmation as Secretary of Labor, she represented the 32nd Congressional District in California, a position that she held for over 8 years. In Congress, her priorities included expanding access to affordable health care, protecting the environment, and improving the lives of working families. A long, amazing resume, but without further ado, I'd like to ask Secretary Solis to come and get the applause that you deserve.
Berkeley, and also to be back home in the great state of California. And I want to thank Denise Fairchild for that wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see you and to see the work that Emerald Cities is doing as a true leadership, a flagship here in the state of California. Also, Dr. Ortiz for Peralta College, congratulations. I know you're the first Latino president there to serve in the history of the campus, so congratulations. Thank you. And to our host here at Berkeley City College, Dr. Bud, thank you so much for hosting us. What a beautiful campus. What an inspiration. And basically, I am here to acknowledge all the chancellors, the presidents, the college presidents, the campus community leaders, but more importantly also the community at large and the students, all the participants that work so diligently to receive and secure this TAA Community College Training Grant for $15 million. Congratulations. That's one of the largest, if not the largest, it's one of the largest grants that the Department of Labor has been able to announce. I do want to say that I have just come off a 16-state tour making announcements around the TAA program. And if you're not familiar with the TAA program, it's the Trade Adjustment Assistance Act. That's really the foundation for the grant. And coupled with working with our community colleges, with our workforce investment boards and our DOL operatives that are there, but also industry. And of course our unions, our apprenticeships, and our stakeholder groups. The whole thrust is to make sure that we are involving everyone. And this particular grant, as has already been stated, includes so many very important stakeholders. My hope is that when I leave today, and what you're doing today also, because I understand you have a lengthy conference that's going on with much discussion and more that will go on tomorrow, will help to amplify the message that we want people to work together in partnership and in providing opportunity for those individuals that are seeking employment, but also challenging our employer community to work with our educational institutions so that we can ready this workforce for the jobs of the 21st century. And I'm not talking about jobs of, 20, 30 years from now. I'm really talking about how we incrementally begin to put people at work right now, and how we begin to build capacity at our campuses and all the participating institutions. I don't think I have to tell you this state has gone through a lot of fiscal constraint to the point where we're having to turn away students. And as a former board of trustee from Rio Hondo Community College in Whittier, where I served for 8 years, I know what the ups and downs are. I know what that means for communities, I know what it means for students, and I know what it means for someone who's trying to get their credentials so that they can go out in the workplace. Anytime that becomes stifled, we all hurt. So I know that this funding is very, very important and critical. I know that it will be divvied up according to the different campuses and what they are proposing to do. But what I'm excited about is that for the first time in a long time, I'm seeing the opportunity to see our union apprenticeship programs, working with community colleges, working with the environmental community, with our stakeholders, with both the UC system, four-year institutions, community colleges, and all the stakeholders. This has been one of my dreams since I got to the Department of Labor. I saw at a micro level what could be done as a former legislator in the state. And I represented the 32nd Congressional District out in East Los Angeles. I knew then what we saw coming out of California could always serve as a model for the country. And now we're actually having the opportunity to see it fulfilled and hopefully implemented in the next 3 years. The beauty of these programs, though, is that we're testing things that haven't really had a chance, I think, to get off the ground. And this administration, this president, has made it a point to make sure that we are inclusive of everyone. And that's what the big difference here is. And some of you know we have been changing the way that we also give out all of our grants by underscoring the importance of providing opportunities for people in renewable and green energy. And I'm glad to see that the partners that are here today represent industry in all of its sectors. That's going to grow and that has been here for many years, for centuries, but also looking at retrofitting and reinventing themselves. All that, of course, is going to benefit the local participants, the communities, but more importantly, what we learn, what we glean from what is done here is going to be shared across the country. So everything that we're doing with these TAA grant programs will come online. And hopefully we can share that with other states that may not be as, how could I say, as big as risk takers as you all are. But then having evidence and facts to back it up as to how these programs work and how it can collaborate in different ways will encourage other partnerships to come online. And I say that because we are in the halfway point for the funding of this TAA Community College Career Training Grant. So we will be giving out more opportunities to fund partnerships like this. And I'm excited because in my travels what I see is that there is a renaissance that is going on around the country around manufacturing. And manufacturing is taking hold of the green industries and some of the older industries that are now figuring out that they have to, in order to be competitive, re-innovate themselves. And so I see that happening in the northeast section of our country. I see it in the south, and I see it in just about every corner of our country. And I'm excited about the possibilities and what we're going to learn and how we can share that. But more importantly, I think this is kind of a new incentive where we are actually telling the community colleges, if I may say so, that this isn't going to work unless we have industry as partners and that we get them at the table and that we actually integrate what they believe is functional so that they can be competitive, and that has to be put in the context of curriculum and applied application. So on-the-job training and being able to share those new innovations and giving opportunities, especially to communities that have been held, that have not been allowed to participate in these kinds of programs is extremely important. And that's how I think we get people back to work. That's how we begin to mitigate the problem of high unemployment, where we have many people, as you well know, that also have very high skills. But there's a big mismatch that's going on in the country in terms of what manufacturers and what industry wants. They're not necessarily saying, and I don't mean any offense to the four-year universities, but what they're looking for are technicians, people that can easily go into a program, perhaps a 6-month to a year to a 2-year program, get the credentials, stackable credentials that are going to mean something, and that at the end of the day are actually going to give that person the ability to quickly assimilate and get into the new competitive job that they're applying for. And businesses are willing to partner with us on that. They're actually willing to open up opportunities and work-sharing opportunities. So we want to see the workforce system itself play a bigger role in helping to facilitate that, because their business is supposed to be working with business to help them find and identify potential employees. That's why they're very critical in this grant process as well. And that's a new idea, because many community colleges, and having been a part of that, I know how hard it is sometimes to let go and to take those kinds of risks. But I think that that's what's going to make the difference in this particular round of funding for this program. And I strongly believe that you are going to be successful. And my hope is that in the next few years, we'll be able to come back and go to Congress and the Senate and say, here's the proof, here's the evidence that we can get this done. We can collaborate at a very local level. We can achieve and set our goals to train up to 2 million people to get these credentials at community colleges as one way, but then continue to create a pathway so that people won't just have a job at the end of their experience, but hopefully look down the line in terms of what career pathways are going to be made available. So I'm looking at that old model that some of you in the room think about, that we heard about years ago, the 2 + 2 + 2. Only it keeps going. It keeps going. And it's got to start even younger. It's got to start at the junior high level. Some of you in the room know that. But more importantly, we ought to be collaborating to make sure that we get the secondary schools as partners. And the President has this very bold idea also of putting forward and fighting for about $8 billion, half of which would go to community colleges for the same emphasis, trade adjustment assistance, but on a broader scale to include more people. And really put the pressure on to get more people who are out of the workforce to get back in. And the other portion, the other half, would go to secondary education, to create what some of us knew as career academies, to look at not just vocational, but with the notion of STEM, looking at science, technology, engineering, and math. And that has to be a seam that goes all the way up. And we mean it. And the President has talked often about seeing that we get teachers that can teach in those STEM areas, 100,000. That is his goal. It's probably small. We need to do better. But that can come from you, from those of you that are participating in this grant program, and with the students that you are inclined to hopefully motivate to continue in these areas and to seek those credentials so that we can have an adequate trained workforce. I think all of these things go along the lines of what we have been talking about for the last 3.5 years. It's just a real pleasure for me to be able to go and meet with folks like yourself who are breaking, how could I say, or shattering that ceiling that has kept us down for so long, that is finally opening up, and the cracks are there, and we're seeping in. And more people, I think, at least in my opinion, are of the mind that we have to take hold of what is happening in the green economy. And while you hear the naysayers across this country and in Washington say that it's not a reality, I can tell you, the research that I've seen, we've already seen more than 3 million jobs that we can account for that have been created in the green sector economy. And the application is far and wide. Let me just give you an example. Last week, a week and a half ago, I was in Vermont. and I had never been to Vermont. Lovely, lovely state, very green, very progressive, and very agricultural based. I went to visit their community college. They had also received one of our trade adjustment assistant grants. And their focus was in agriculture, but also looking at how they could use and apply new tools in terms of how they are raising herds of animal in the dairy production, looking at how to sustain themselves as a campus by introducing new scientific models and technologies that students are actually applying in the community, but more importantly, on the farm. This campus is on a farm. So I met with students that are using new scientific-based research on how to conserve, how to use biofuels, how to use methane gas and residue to help refuel their campus. Not anything that probably some of you, it's something that we know has existed, but we have not applied it. We have not applied it in that manner. And what I'm saying to you is that there's a cost benefit for that, because it's going to allow that campus to be more self-sustaining. They're going to reduce their overall energy costs, but they're also breaking through into some very non-traditional fields in agriculture. Just think what that would mean for a state like California in the Central Valley, right? Just think what that would mean. But the whole purpose is looking at new production of different sources of products. Instead of just dairy farming, they're looking at yogurt, ice cream, all kinds of offshoots that are then going to be generated, and all that income is going to come back to the institution. And hopefully, individuals are going to learn to start up their own businesses. So that's really what's happening on that campus. And it was amazing to me, because here's a girl from East LA who hasn't grown up on a farm, but to see the kinds of things happening on the ground there inspires me and moves me. So I know if it can happen in places in rural America, that those same cutting-edge techniques can be applied here, only in different professions. So whether it's looking at the healthcare industry, which is growing, which is recession-proof, in my opinion, and if there's any economists in here, we may want to talk about that. But I'll tell you, for the last almost 3.5 years, every month I have to report what the unemployment figures are. And I would say that for the most part, the healthcare industry continues to expand. The applications for science, technology, math, very essential, even for those jobs in the ambulatory field. And nevertheless, we have a shortage. We need more licensed LVNs, we need registered nurses, we need radiation technologists, we need pharmacist assistants, we need also the higher level individuals to be trained. And there will be ample support and more jobs that will be forthcoming in that area because of the Affordable Health Care Act, because of access that's going to be available, and the fact that more people are going to have opportunity to have healthcare services provided in their home or wherever they choose. And that's going to create more incentive for entrepreneurship. So I can see that that's an area that we're going to continue to grow out. I also know that in more traditional areas like tourism, hotel, restaurant, particularly here in places like Northern California, San Francisco, the Bay Area, there is going to be a continuing movement of people because they are attracted to places like this, that we're going to be looking for adequately trained individuals that have better skill sets to be able to adapt to what all of that means. So I think that's very important. I know that that's a big part of what this grant will do. There's so many things that I could say, but I will tell you this. This program, as I know it, is called Design It, Build It, and Ship It. That says it all. So yes, design it here, get the technology, get the training, get the certification, make sure you're talking to industry so that you're reflective in your curriculum of what the actual need is for that business to grow, and then design it, build it here, and then export it. And you can export it to the next town, to the next state, or to the next country. And And the President would like to see us increase our mobility so that we can send our best products abroad. Because if we do well here, as you and I know, some of us know that growing up, anything that said made in the USA was something that gave us a sense of pride, that you wanted to acquire that. And when you go abroad, I still hear people typically saying, oh, well, if it's made over there, I want it. Just think what that would mean for entrepreneurs here to be able to get their products, and not just the high-tech, but even the other items and things that we really haven't thought about that we can repackage and redesign that can be sent to other countries, whether it's semiconductors or medical devices or transportation equipment, anything like that, I think would be welcomed in terms of our ability to compete with other countries. The President wants to close that gap. He wants to make sure that we have cutting-edge technology here so that we can make more investments. We can keep people here. Also, we have this dilemma where we will educate some of the highest trained individuals in our universities. Berkeley is one of them, Stanford. And then when they complete their master's or their PhD, these individuals leave. And then they go and they compete against us. The President says that doesn't make sense. And I agree with him. And I think we ought to let them stay or stamp a green card if they want to stay. And for those individuals that are younger, the dreamers as we have known them, to allow them to also be able to continue their education and be able to pay into our tax-based system. Many have gone through your institutions already. Some of them have their licensing, their credentials. They, in many ways, will be the future innovators for years to come. And we ought not to be hampering that. We are, after all, a country made up of diversity and of immigrants from all over the world. And I think that's what has separated us from other countries and other nations. The President wants to continue that. One last thing, because I know I have to take a plane to leave, but I want to tell you that we have a lot of faith in what you all are attempting to do here with this particular grant. And I expect to see results. And we will work with you. We will work with other employers if they want to become engaged or want to learn how to do that. We want to make sure that we're fostering that. The Department of Labor is here not to impede, but to help people succeed. And by doing that is by breaking down barriers and making sure that people understand that we want a collaborative relationship. And this is the first time that I've seen in a couple of decades where the Department of Labor has really gone out and said, we're going to make this opportunity available for workforce training at the very local level. And it's by including the workforce programs, the community colleges, and the local business apprenticeship programs and unions. And it's the first time that I've seen a revival. And that's what's going to help, I think, give us the footing that we need to have those 2 million credentialed people that the President is talking about. So thank you very much for having me. Congratulations on the grant, and congratulations on the collaboration. Because at the end of the day, what's going to matter is how many of your students, your participants, are out there successful in their workplace or in their new business. So thank you very much.